Welcome to today's edition of Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
I'm your co-host, Pastor Wayne Moore.
Always a pleasure to host with you.
It is, my friend. It always is.
It's going to be a great show today.
Yes, we do. We have a lovely couple here with us today that's going to give us some information about the arts.
And they're doing some lovely things in the city.
Yes, they are. Let's talk about our sponsors.
Lee Kossel and Crawley.
Yes, and we also have Fervent Care Christian Academy, where your children can be religiously educated. Not only that, but they can be secularly educated as well. Great school.
Yeah, so give us a call at 317-898-2751. Also, you can review this show over again or watch others that you might have missed by subscribing to our YouTube channel.
And you can like us on Facebook.
Please do that.
And we'd love to see you participate with us in the Facebook arena.
Yeah, and on that YouTube, it's WHMB TV 40. WHMB TV 40. Subscribe and enjoy all the wonderful information that have been disseminated over this radio.
And you can have our very first inaugural show. Remember that first show we did?
Yeah.
We're probably, almost 3 years into this now.
Going on 3 years,
Going on 3 years, and we want to thank the community. And if you want to be a sponsor, just contact WHMBT Channel 40. Tell them you want to be a sponsor of Real People, Real Voices, and they can connect you to the right people.
When we come back, we have the Blue House and its founders. Stay with us. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. I want to get right to our guests. We're joined today by Daria and Deja Henry.
Yes.
Hi.
Thanks
The
for
Henry
coming.
family.
Yes. Thanks for having us.
Tell us about the summer film and music camps and the Blue House. Two questions or things that are wrapped up into one.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We should start with the film camps.
Okay. So the film camps that the Blue House puts on are every summer, and they're week-long film camps. And what we do is teach kids 8 to 18 how to make a film from conception all the way to red carpet. So over the week, I teach them about how to develop an idea, screenwriting, character development, how to run a set, how things actually should be done in order on a film set. And we work together, they come up with the ideas. Depending on the age, I help with the writing or they do the writing. And then we film for 2 days, and then we edit behind the scenes, we edit the film, we put together a red carpet premiere for the kids. Their parents come. Wow. Yeah. We get photos, and then the wonderful part that I think sets us apart is my husband's been an entrepreneur for, I guess, 20 years now, and we wanted to incorporate an entrepreneurial aspect to our program. So afterwards, we allow them to sell posters and sell their film, and they get 100% of the profits. And so, in essence, if they wanted to kind of pay for their camp experience, they could, depending on getting their friends and families to come and support.
So their camp experience is it free, or is there a charge for it?
Well, you want to answer?
Yeah, it's a charge. Yeah, it's a charge. We charge. Sometimes it ranges, but it's between 100 and 150 for a week. But yeah, they pay for that, and the great thing is actually one of the kids was able to sign up for a second camp because they took some of the profits that they made. Because it's not just even the film camp. We had 4 of the kids end up in a web commercial.
Great.
Because they participated in the program. And so they ended up getting more money just from doing that as well.
Where did you get your background in this?
Well, it's interesting. So I'm musical. My wife is all about film and theater. And so I've done a lot of music just growing up, from piano lessons to when I was in high school, I started doing a studio in my basement. So my mom let us do that. And it turned out being better than running the streets, right? We spent a lot of time
making beats.
That's right. So rapping, making beats. It actually turned out to be, the basement actually turned out to be a haven. I didn't really understand that till maybe 2 years ago, how much it meant to all my friends that spent a lot of time there, that they just remembered all the time they spent in the basement making music, hanging out. And so that's actually where the whole concept of the Blue House came from, is the fact that we spent so much time, 10 of us, right, at a time, just building, making music together, being creative, and it grew our friendships a whole lot. And
So
so
you all are still connected.
yes, yes, we are. And so as we kind of grow up, like that's the interest is how do we recreate that kind of experience for young people today where they have a way to go be creative, process emotions, all that stuff, and be friends at the same time. And so that's the goal, is to recreate that type of experience for young people today.
So is the Blue House and what it offers year-round? Of course, you have the summer film program, but what about the rest of the year?
So during the year, we do different things. So I do programs on Saturday where I work with youth on music particularly. So we've done, it's very similar to what my wife's doing with film, except mine's just once a week. And we'll talk about music, you know, music history as well, so they can kind of get a full spectrum of what they can do. Talk about topics, their favorite styles, and then we actually get to making music at that point, making beats.
I think that's phenomenal. So the Blue House was created from that.
Yes.
Now, where's your background in the film industry come from?
Okay, so I actually studied theater at Purdue University.
Okay.
And I did a little in high school, and I've always been interested in writing and telling stories. And so I graduated with my acting degree, and then we got married, and then the babies started coming.
Right.
And so I couldn't really go to rehearsals and things like that, but around that time YouTube was like coming up, and so he gave me a laptop and a camera as a gift, and I started making YouTube videos. I did work on the football field doing camera for the football games, and that was an amazing experience. But I started teaching myself how to edit, how to shoot with a DSLR camera, and those short sketches started turning into longer sketches and working for other people.
So you are a self-taught cinematographer.
I am self-taught, yeah.
You ever heard of school, Chaplin School in California?
Chaplin School, no?
Yeah, Chaplin College.
I'll
Great,
check
great
that
film
out.
school.
I will check that out.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah. I think he hasn't told you where the Blue House name came from.
Tell me where the Blue House name came
Name,
from,
yes.
since he suggested it.
That's really important, and she bring it up for a really good reason. That was actually our first house together.
Oh,
It was
really?
blue,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. So,
The first house my wife and I built was blue.
oh,
Really?
interesting.
This is
So that's a thing.
special.
On the west side.
Yeah.
Well, mine was yellow,
All right.
but I changed it to blue.
Oh, there you go.
I did, really I did. But yeah, that's great. So at least your roots are dug deeply in the home structure.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
developed this out of what happened in your household.
Yes, absolutely.
That's phenomenal. So that was very positive. I think young people need to be aware of that.
Yeah.
Good things happen in households
Yes.
where there are good parents, and I think that your parents need to be commended for that. You're still doing it, and that's good.
So reviving the community through arts. Arts and entertainment is one of the 7 influences in society, and you all are working on that arts piece. What would you like to see over the next few years with regard to how Blue House will have an impact on what it looks like in Indianapolis?
Yeah, well, we love to, when you look at culture, so our tagline is elevate culture. What we love to do in Indianapolis is, if you think about similar to a Harlem Renaissance, is where if you get creative people together, and we can bring in like a way to train our kids, like not just be rappers, but be poets, start getting into the literary side of things where they can get deeper into the meanings of words and all of that. What can happen, right? We'd love to see that change the culture of their communities. Our goal is really to take young people, they can take their message and then share it with their community. And they have the highest chance of having an impact in their community. Like other people, you can come in, but they don't know who we are, right? Like, I can affect my community that I'm in, but they can affect theirs.
Right,
And so
right.
we want to empower them to do
Empower
that,
them,
so that they feel like they can do that in their communities.
And tell their own stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you all mentioned you have children. How many?
Yes, we have 3.
3?
Yes. 10, 12, and 14.
All right. Well, congratulations. You all have been great guests today.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Enjoyed our
joining
time
us.
here.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for coming.
Yes.
Stay with us. We have more to come. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. We're joined by Miss Ada Conway. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm
Happy to
glad
have you,
be
Ms.
here.
Conway.
Thank you so much.
And you are the author of Raising God's Children
Yes, author and facilitator.
and facilitator.
So you do workshops, apparently.
Yes,
Okay.
and I teach out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You teach this book.
Yes.
Okay.
And Dr. Moore and we were all talking off air. You're an educator.
Yes.
So how long were you an educator?
Oh gosh, I'd say 15, 16 years or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you enjoyed Sunday school.
I enjoyed the children.
Did you really?
Yes, I loved the whole process because it started out with the elementary school kids, and then the middle schoolers would sneak past their classroom and come into my class. And after a while, the teenagers was doing the same thing. So,
How does it feel when they come back and say thank you?
oh gosh, they're still doing that. It's always rewarding. You know, I always say thank you because they were the most excellent children. They were amazing kids. And
That's great. How did the book come into fruition?
it started out with just 3 pages that I wanted to present to our youth minister when our church was having a youth revival.
Okay.
But then I kept writing, and then it was 12 pages. So then the pastor got a hold of it and said that I needed to teach that on the last day of youth revival. So I taught those 12 pages, and then I just kept, adding to it as the Lord would, kind of download information to me. And before I knew anything, I had a book.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
And one of the chapters in your book is loving your children.
Oh, that is so important. There are so many things that we do not really thinking it through. For example, when I wake up in the morning, I hit my snooze bar so many times when that alarm goes off. Sometimes I think it's going to hit me back. But when we wake up our children, we expect them to get right up,
Right.
And so I learned that I can't really get my kids up that way. Well, I can, but it's not the best for them. So I'll go and I shake them, then I go away, and then I come back and I shake them again. And then the third time I shake them, well, they kind of have to get up.
That's very interesting.
Yeah,
Because a
she's-
lot of people wouldn't think that you would do that to your children to gradually wake them up,
Yeah.
considering yourself.
Yeah, well,
Right.
it took years before
You had a
it
double
dawned on
standard.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had a double standard when it came to
Yes.
waking up.
And we do that a lot with our children.
Yeah.
You changed that.
Yeah.
That's great.
One of the things that I wanted to ask you about, you talk about training how manners
Yeah.
and public and social behavior promote self-confidence.
Well, a lot of times people think that manners is just please and thank you. And when our children say please and thank you, we pretty much think that's, it. But it's not, because then after the please and thank you they're going out to the schools and, to the malls or with their peers. And when, if you teach your children everything, along the way, like not interrupting and saying, pardon me or excuse me and not, huh? Or, that sort of thing. And whenever they're anywhere, it starts building integrity in them at home. So then when they are out in public with you or even without you, people will recognize them for the way they conduct themselves, the way they present themselves, and the way they behave.
Well, we were taught that manners would take you a long way.
Yes, people
Yeah.
don't teach us that anymore that much.
We're living in a rude generation.
Gosh,
A
for
lot of
sure.
people don't want to admit that, but we really are. We're living in a, young people don't speak. They feel you need to speak to them first.
Or if you say hello,
Hello.
they don't know, there's no interaction.
They don't say yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am. People say to me, OG, what's happening, OG? They don't say, how you doing, sir? They say, what's up, OG? I just say, okay.
And I think the reason for that is because they're not being taught the proper ways
Right.
at home, and
Right.
then they use so much slang until sometimes they won't even recognize what real words are.
Talk about how you feel about the development of children's relationship with God.
Oh gosh, that is so important. When I was a little girl, the first person who taught me how to pray was my bigger brother, and he taught me how to pray over my food. And then after that, he taught me how to pray, kneel beside my bed and pray. And we were little kids. I mean, I'm thinking I was probably 3, maybe 4 years old, And so my little sister and brother, they just kind of followed suit, not understanding as much as I did for a 3 or 4-year-old. And so then as time went on, my mother, of course, she picked up, and because my grandfather on my mom's side was a Southern Baptist preacher, so, all her life, all she knew is God and the Word of God and relationship with God. And so we all learned from her. And then as we got to be teenagers and, set out on our own relationship with God as it grew, we learned more and we understood more. And so
James,
that is in us.
She said something that was so dynamic. She said, they taught us about the relationship with God, but when we set out on our own to develop our own relationship with God, that is not really transitioning in society today. What do you feel about that?
It's heartbreaking, really, because,
Do you agree with that, though?
I do agree. I do agree with that. And it's pretty heartbreaking because you're going to spend eternity somewhere, And so I always want people, even children, to be aware, that they're going to spend eternity somewhere. That's afterlife, but during life, you need the Lord,
Yeah.
Then you got to try to get there.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we introduce our children to church, but we don't introduce them to the relationship.
Right.
A lot of people think that church is the relationship,
It's
and
not.
that's the problem.
Yeah. Relationship with God.
Is
Yeah.
where it's at.
Yeah.
Yes,
the key.
yes.
Protecting our children from strangers, associates, and sometimes family.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Well, a lot of times when, for example, if we leave our children for a relative or a friend to babysit, you don't know. I don't believe in leaving children anywhere. My children never left my side. I never let them spend nights anywhere. I never let anyone babysit unless it was my mom, my sister, or my brother, because we were always really tight. But things happen, and sometimes the kids don't know how to tell you. They can't articulate what happened to them. They're afraid, in a sense, to tell you if, there's been some kind of breach, So I think that you have to protect them, and you have to have a relationship with your child that is so secure and so trusting that they can tell you anything. And then, for example, if a breach does happen, I think the last thing you need to do is to take the child back to that person and say, did you do this or do you do this? Because then the child is like, and then the person is, did you say that? Intimidating the child. It's just messy. It's just messy.
Yeah. And there's a lot going on these days
God.
with our children.
Yeah, it
So
is.
So you
much,
have to
so
really be
much.
watchful.
With even their friends, because sometimes, like, for example, I've heard of kids going to their friend's house and then someone gets a hold of the gun and now they're playing with the gun, just crazy things like that. And of course, sometimes the other children don't mean to hurt the child, or sometimes they're playing and something terrible happens. It's just, you just can't, you have to protect your child.
We got a few seconds. Tell people where they can get this book.
It's available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Nobles, Google Play, and iTunes. And you can email me and I can send it to you.
Yeah, well, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you so very much.
God bless you.
Another
You
book
too.
in the making?
I do have 2 books in the making right now.
All right.
Congratulations.
Looking forward to that.
Thank you.
We have the rundown still to come. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
I'm your co-host, Pastor Wayne Moore.
And I'm your executive producer, Faith McKinney.
Some great guests there.
Yeah, we did. We had some great guests, especially talking about the raising God's children, which
Yeah.
is, in my estimation, a very important, integral part of families today. Well, it should be anyway.
Yeah.
And she had some good points in there, some good chapters about how we ought not let our children be involved with strangers, et cetera. You wanted to talk about the teen dating piece of it.
Yeah.
Not only that, she talked about how she was able to change her behavior towards her kids at one,
And how to love your kids.
and how to love your kids. And it was a great interview.
And you wouldn't really think about that. When we wake up gradually, generally.
Hopefully.
Where people are hitting the snooze button. And then she says, well, when she wakes her children up, she shakes them, walks away, shakes them, walks away.
Third time, they got to get up.
Yeah, you got to get up on the third round.
Yeah.
She's
Also-
being very gentle.
yeah, and then we had the
Blue House.
the Blue House, the Henry family.
Yeah.
Phenomenal couple with 3 children, but they're entrepreneurs, doing everything they can to infuse their knowledge and their skills and crafts back into the community.
Yeah.
I think that's great. Many people don't give back. Sometimes we achieve and we keep moving, but they seem to want to give back to the Indianapolis community, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, the arts are so important.
Absolutely. It's wonderful to see. I met Deja in Indiana Filmmakers Network, and it's a networking organization that meets monthly for filmmakers. And, you have to be dedicated to want to attend events specifically for your craft. And, she's there, she's active, and she has a heart for children.
It was amazing to how she takes a child and just turns them into a producer or a screenwriter, a film
A director.
director.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and it's done in a week's time, and the expense of it is pretty reasonable for a parent that might that has a child that wants to get involved in cinematography.
And to go all the way to the red carpet, that whole experience
Yeah.
for the young people.
For the young people.
First I've heard of the Blue House.
Oh yeah, they're around. It's my goal to expose the people of Indianapolis about these wonderful opportunities that we have for our children and our families. It's not just video games anymore. There's so many things to do and so many people who actually care.
Let me compliment you on that, because James, I hear a lot of people when they watch this show, Faith, you need to really be complimented on that. We hear a lot that there's just so many people in certain silos you hear about. You always hear about certain silos. And we don't do certain silos. We do a variety of people. And everywhere I go, when people talk about real people, real voices, they talk about, I didn't know these people or this was in Indianapolis. And I think that's phenomenal. I want to commend you on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do an excellent job.
Thank you. I love it.
And we want to thank you all for joining us. In fact, on Friday nights at 9:30 and on Sundays at 5:30, each and every week at 5:30 p.m. Also, don't forget to go to our YouTube channel,
Yeah.
WHMB TV40.
And tell us what else.
Facebook.
Like us there.
Like
They're
us on
waiting,
Facebook.
hanging around, waiting on you to hook us up.
Yep,
So,
absolutely. And our sponsors, Lee Castle and Crowley, I want to thank them.
Fervent Care Christian Academy, a great school for young people.
Yeah, give them a call at 317-898-2751. The information is also right there on the screen. We're looking forward to our next time together with you. Until then, God bless you. Thanks for watching the show.
God bless you.